My guest today was a big break Myrtle Beach contestant. Myrtle Beach premiered on October 7th, 2014. And the winner of that one, I think Jimmy came up with like $180,000 in cash and prizes, which was amazing. This guy played his college golf at Utah State, and I am jealous of his on-course demeanor because it's hard to rattle him. Tons of talent, very competitive, and the runner-up in that season to Jimmy, Toph Peterson. Welcome to Where Are They Now podcast.
Thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
So the listeners want to hear the entire journey, from the beginning, from the time you even, first, whether you were a big break, watcher, and then where'd you go for tryouts? And we're going to get into all that stuff, but we have a segment called Quick Hitters, which are sent in by the listeners. And we're going to start off with a bunch of those. You had quite a response. If we went through all the responses you had, we'd be here for an hour. So just on the quick hitters. So we'll jump right in. First question, Toph, was there anyone in your group that you didn't like or didn't get along with? That's jumping right in.
At the time of the show, Anthony Quezada and I did not see eye to eye. I know a lot of people had that issue on our show. Since the end of that show, he and I have become pretty decent friends. He plays on my tour now. He has grown up immensely. So I think a lot of it was being young and trying to be overly competitive, and it was not good.
Yeah, some immaturity there, I imagine. But kid's got talent, by the way. That shot he made in that bunker, fried egg, I think it was on a downhill lie, and I'm thinking if this was me, I'd leave it in probably twice because and it was unbelievable.
It was. Well, he had like a 10-foot lip he had to clear. He had to stop it in like 10 feet. It was unbelievable. He was a really, really good junior golfer. I know in the Phoenix area, it was pretty much the Anthony Quezada show as a junior golfer. And then he decided to skip college and do it a different route, which may or may not have been the right call. Who's to say? I don't know. But he was phenomenal as a junior.
That's awesome. Follow-up to that is, we know you and Jimmy were tight. Do you guys still chat? And was there anyone else on the show that you became close to?
Jimmy and I were really good friends on the show. We kept up really strong for about 2 years, and then it's kind of faded out. He lives in Alabama, way on the other side of the world. I'm still in Phoenix, so I've been kicking around here. We usually catch up once a year. On the show, Carolyn Pinniger and I got along quite well. We hung out a lot during that time, so I don't talk to her much anymore. She just got married maybe a year ago. So she is happy and great, and that's about it. I don't talk to too many of them anymore. Emily Tubert and I cross paths every once in a while. She comes into Phoenix and plays. But
is that the one you called Russian?
Yeah, that's the one I called Russian. Yeah. Yeah, the Austrian. That was my game plan. I was like, boy, she was so cute, man. I had such a crush on that girl.
Yeah, she was, and she could play too, man. You had a talented group on that show.
We did. She had one of the best golf swings I think I've ever seen. Her wedge game was filthy good.
Yeah, really was. Next question. How much did the cameras distract you on and off the course? And did you ever have to go through reshoots?
Boy, almost every morning was a reshoot. I mean, you're at breakfast and somebody says something funny, but they didn't quite capture it right. So they want you to replay it. Nobody's an actor, so you're just stumbling all over yourself like an idiot. I did it left and right. Every time they asked me to read something, I would make a comment. They're like, oh, that was funny. Do it again. I'm like, yeah, and the moment's gone. You lost me already. But outside of that, not much of a distraction. It kept you up late. I mean, it was long, long days.
That's a good segue. Next question is, long days seem to be the prerequisite. Give the listeners a typical day. We'd love to hear it.
So breakfast every morning, if I remember right, it's been like 5 years, so
Yep.
I might not be perfect on the times, but seems like I woke up every morning about 5 o'clock. Breakfast started at like 5:30. You'd get mic'd up, and you would be at breakfast till about 6:30. So it was an hour long of shooting and trying to replay the whole deal and what you were going to do for your first challenge. they didn't ever tell you. They gave you hints, so you had an idea of what might be coming. And then you were on the golf course pretty much all day. So you'd have a little range session in the morning. They would give you a hint. You would practice what you thought you were going to need, whether you thought you were going to have to hit it through the glass or a flop shot, whatever it might be. They gave you an idea of the challenge. And then you would go to site and film. It was interesting. You would warm up, you'd drive to location, and then 45 minutes later, you would finally be hitting a shot because you have to go through legal and make sure everybody understands everything. And the resort we were at was just massive, right? 3 golf courses, like 2 ranges. So, I mean, it could take you 20 minutes just to drive to the site. If you're the last person, you hadn't even made a swing in 2 hours, and they're like, all right, you got to hit it to 3 inches. Otherwise, you might be going into elimination. But it was really fun, but long days. You were competitively on the golf course for probably 10 hours a day.
Jeez. Next question is, what did you do at night? Were you able to go out at all after the long days? I know you're probably tired, but was there anything what was going on in the evening?
So ours was a little different. Everybody had their own room, but you had to be taken in and out by one of the controllers. So we all had our own babysitter. Outside of that, there was one big community room where everybody hung out. It was an open bar, so guys were drinking, having fun, just hanging out with each other, telling stories. So when you're done at the end of the day, you have to go in and you have to do your interview, and then you have a confessional, right? So you have to do both every night. If you're on the show, you have to do both every night. So sometimes you're going to bed at 12:30 because those are hour and a half long, and you have to wait for the entire cast. So the first week to 10 days is extremely long. If you are the last person to get interviewed, you are up really, really late.
Jeez. What happens to eliminated players? And you didn't have to deal with this because you went to the finals, but we had a lot of questions about where do they go? Do they stay at the same place? Do you guys see them? Do they get to play golf? Do they do day drinking? What's kind of the thing going on with the eliminated players?
So they do stay on site. You do not really hang out with them too much. You see them at dinner and a little bit outside of that, but very, very little. They don't come to the golf course. They have activities. So one of the controllers takes them out and they give them options on the day. I think Krista Presetti was the first one off the show. I think the first day, I think she went to like a baseball game. I think they maybe went deep sea fishing. I was like, boy, this is unbelievable. Get me out of here. I'll go hang out for free for a week. Yeah.
I mean, they could play miniature golf. There's 1 million miniature golf courses in Myrtle Beach.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Yep. The Myrtle Beach was trying to show off the city, so I know that they were making sure everybody had a great time while they were there and not on the show.
That's cool. Great segue. What was your experience like at Big Break?
I absolutely loved it. I wish I was better prepared. I wasn't playing a lot at the time. Truthfully, I had pretty much given up my professional career at that point and got lucky enough and got the call, but I had swing yips. But it was amazing exposure and a great opportunity to play for more money than I've ever had a chance for before.
Yeah, you kind of mentioned that during the show. You said, like, this is it, man. I'm 28, I think you mentioned, and you're like, this is I don't have too much time left, so it has to happen now. And you certainly went out there and performed. Next question is about practice time. We see you on the range all the time. Is there a putting green? And do you get to practice the challenges?
So you do not get to practice any of the challenges. Like I said, they give you a little bit of a hint. So you have an idea what it might be, but no, you don't get any practice shots on site. What was the headway into that? You had a question before that.
Was there a putting green?
Yeah. Yeah, there was.
They never saw you on a putting green.
Yeah, it was on the range as well. They didn't show that too much. Everyone likes to watch a ball get hit well. Nobody cares if you're making putts. It's funny. That's the only thing that gets you paid at the end of the day for the most part. So,
good point. Well, we're going to close out our quick hitters. We have a bunch of stuff to get into as far as Big Break, then the contest itself, and then what you're doing today. We want to find out all about what's going on with Toph today. Quick programming note, if you have any questions for your favorite Big Break star, just send them in through Twitter, Instagram, Where Are They Now Podcast, and also email us where are they now podcast at gmail.com, and we'll get those answered for you immediately. Coming weeks, we have a bunch of folks still coming. Double D, Donatello, excuse me, Cindy Miller, Mark Murphy, Mark Silvers, ton of folks coming on. So stay tuned for all of that, and we'll get that stuff out there for you. So let's talk about, were you a Big Break fan, Toph?
I was. I grew up watching a fair bit of Golf Channel, and I remember watching the early ones, like you said, Don Donatello. I remember he was the one screaming about pulling it tight. It was hilarious. Pull it tight. It was dramatic. It was a really good show. I thought it did a good job on showcasing kids that you wouldn't hear the story usually otherwise. And I am so grateful to have that experience.
I remember watching the same one with the guy with the bare feet, and I know in a recent one that he switched to put shoes on in the reunion because he learned his lesson on that hole. But the interesting thing, and people might thinking back at this, there was I don't know if it was nationwide, but it was like exemptions for a couple of those turns. And then you go to your and Jimmy, where you guys are playing for the package was a different world,
Oh, it was unbelievable. What they were giving away that year was amazing. So Swing Thought Tour runs mostly out the East Coast, the Southeast anyway. They're hanging out in Miami, Georgia, Florida, all that. And Jimmy got an entire year worth of events for free, right? He could play in as many as he wanted with no entry, which was amazing. I think he ended up winning like 9 of their tournaments that year.
Wow.
I think he had a really solid one. But like you said, they gave us a Valspar exemption, which is crazy. One of the hardest golf courses you'll ever play in your life. But unbelievable what they gave away that year.
So what motivated you to try out for Big Break? And then talk a little bit about the tryout you had to go through.
So I had molded over with a couple of my buddies. A couple of them were living with me and playing full time, and I was staying competitive with them, if not beating them majority of the time. And they're like, dude, you got to start playing. You're getting to the time it's either got to happen or you got to be done. So we heard about open castings up at Anthem during a gateway event. So I went up during the practice round, put my name on the deal. And it's funny, you do a 15-minute interview and you actually only hit 6 golf balls. I hit 3 7-irons and 3 drivers. And that was it. They called me 2.5 months later, and I truthfully didn't think I would be playing because it had been that long. So I stopped playing. I was working full time, and then they called. So I had about 1.5 months to prepare for the show.
Wow. That's amazing. So first time you tried out, you made it.
I did. Yeah, I was really lucky.
Because I was talking to Brian Cooper yesterday.
Oh, yeah.
And from Pittsburgh. He's out in Arizona now too, somewhere.
He is. Yeah, he spends a lot of time out here.
And I just talked to him yesterday. He said it was his 3rd or 4th time. And his buddies were saying, Coop, you got to do this. And he's like, I'm really kind of over it now. I've tried 3 times. And then the next time he did it, he ended up getting on. That's really cool. So talking about preparation, I mean, you're not busting windows out of your house trying to break glass. There's no wall you're going to build to do this. Is there any preparation other than just playing that you're going to do for this coming up, event?
Outside of that, no. I wanted to make sure my wedges were tight. I know they can save you more than anything. Wedges and putter have to be on point. You better not get nervous there. And then outside of that, you got to make sure your driver's solid. If you can't get off the tee, you just have no chance against those guys. It doesn't matter. So that's all I really focused on. And unfortunately, I did have the driver yips, which was not good for me, but it's what it is.
So let's talk about this is a show, and in my discovery of Big Break, I realized that it's actually treated like a game show, right? I don't know, I had a conversation with someone, it might have been Mark Murphy, about the fact you're signing documents before every challenge because it has to be all legit and make sure that everything is fair and all of that stuff. Let's talk about the secrecy of it. You get that call 2 months later, and you can't say anything to anybody, not then, and then not even post the event till it premieres, right? So tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, well, they put a pretty good scaring into you. When you agree to be on the show, you get a contract, and the contract says that if you do tell, you can be persecuted up to like 10 years or $1 million or something. So I had no problem being really quiet. I was not touching that one. All my buddies were trying. I was like, dude, I have no interest in paying anyone $1 million that I don't have. So I was easily quieted by that.
It's amazing. So now you find out you're going. They don't tell you a location, I don't think. Do they tell you right away you're heading to Myrtle? Or?
No, so they didn't tell us. They said we were going to be somewhere warm. So I didn't know what the hell to do. I went and got my passport. Man, I was running around like a bat out of hell. I had no idea what I was just grabbing everything I could. I over-prepared in that sense. I packed for everything.
People asked a ton about, did you have prep time? Did you play practice rounds? You know, did the first time you see the people, is that the real filming, or did you get to see them prior to that? Tell us a little bit about getting there and your first experience with Big Break.
Okay, so you show up independently to an airport. You get a ride to your hotel. You're not with any of the players. Again, I think ours was a little bit different where they gave everyone their own hotel room in the resort. But again, the only person I met that first day were the wardrobe people and one other producer. So you're hanging out in your room. They bring you room service. You're not allowed to leave. You don't have a key to your room, so you can't get back in if you do. So you're just hanging out, kind of soaking it all in, making sure your wardrobe's okay. And that's where I ran into Jimmy. I was sitting on my patio. I had ordered like a barrel, or not a barrel, but a 6-pack of Coronas. And I was sitting on my patio, and so was Jimmy. So I was like, yo, what are you doing? He's like, oh, I can't really tell you. I'm like, cool, me neither. He's like, sweet. So we started hanging out, and that's where, cool. Yeah, we started making pretty good buddies after that.
That's awesome.
I believe the next morning is when we actually got introduced to the entire crew. So all the guys were told to meet at like 6 a.m. the next morning. So you just stood outside your room, and there were 5 other guys. So that's where all the guys met, and then they took us down into breakfast room, and that's where we ended up meeting the ladies. So ladies came separately. I think they wanted to keep it a surprise. I thought maybe Celebrity would be playing with us. I didn't know. But that's when everyone met, and then right after that, we actually went out and filmed the intro and that. So we met at breakfast, and then went out on the boat, went up and down the channel, and did the intro that way.
That's right. That's your intro. Awesome. So Adams Golf was a big sponsor. Everybody's wearing Adams stuff. And as a guy that grew up in the New York City metro area and spent tons of time in the Bronx at Yankee games, watching you with that Yankee hat was pretty cool. And I'm like, I wonder what, is he from the tri-state area, New York, New Jersey, Connecticut? And then I'm like, read your bio, and he's like, from Utah. Like, a Yankee fan. That's really cool. So they didn't, first of all, are you a Yankee fan? And second of all, any problems with the wardrobe with what you guys were wearing out there, or what?
No, they give you a warning on what you can and cannot wear, how big your logo can be, if it's not one of the allowed sponsors, so Adidas and whatever. I don't think it could be bigger than 1 inch by 1 inch, so you're really limited. I think I just went to H&M and grabbed 12 non-logoed shirts and just said I'm going for it. Yeah, Adams was something. I am a giant Yankees fan. My sister lives in New York. That's where that whole thing stemmed from. She's been there for, probably close to like half my life. But
wow. Did you get to see her?
Love New York.
Okay, cool. Do you get to the city to see her?
Yep, I usually go visit her every couple of years. Last time I went out was about 1.5 years ago. Hung out for about 5 or 6 days. She has a couple bars in town, so it's always quite entertaining.
Nice. That's awesome. So let's talk a little bit about the pressure. Every time I've talked to a big breaker, they have a different thing that was pressure. Some people say the cameras early on, and then they got used to it. Others say the weather. I'm talking to Mark Murphy this afternoon, and in a pre-call with him, he was talking about just the howling rain and the winds and the rain, and it was just an unbelievable thing. If you start adding up because a lot of, I mean, I know it was windy in Myrtle. It's always windy in Myrtle, right? On the water. Cameras, weather. The fact that you just mentioned that nobody mentioned before was you're on a driving range getting warmed up. And I'm not a very good golfer, but when I warm up, I'd like to go to the first tee, not sit on a bench and wait 45 minutes with a clipboard filling out paperwork.
Right.
I mean, and then for you guys to go and play at the level that you played at, and I know you'd probably say that, you did say that you weren't playing your best. Matter of fact, you even stopped playing. So now you find out you're on, you got to kind of hurry up and get back. And a couple of guys, Brian Cooper, I mentioned before, he said he really wished he was playing better going into the season. Mark Silvers has said that I was on all cylinder when they called me. I couldn't wait. I'm like, let's go tomorrow because I'm playing really well. Unfortunately, he carried it over. Just talk about the pressure. I mean, it seems like there's so many components that it's unbearable. It
is so interesting the way they set it up, because at any moment, like you said, you can be done, right? One shot, you don't even get a chance to make the putt to redemption. There's no redemption. It's live or die pretty much all day, every day there, which can definitely get to you. I didn't really feel anxious or a lot of nerves until, so it was I guess it would have been the semifinals in my match against Emily Tubert. And I hadn't really felt a lot of nerves yet, and I knew I was going to get them the next day if I didn't test myself. So everyone wondered why I went for the par 5 when I had a 2-shot lead in the 3-hole match against her. But I wanted to put myself in a position where I had to hit a shot and see how I would react. I hit a terrible shot. Might have messed with my mind a little bit the next day, but luckily snuck through. The pressure the last day was overwhelming. I mean, you want something so bad. I had never really had the opportunity to give myself a chance to play. I'd maybe played 8 professional events before that in my life. So the money was just right there up front, right in my head. It was the only thing I was thinking about, and I was just squeezing it to death. I just wanted it so bad. I couldn't let go. It was really frustrating, but I learned a lot from that, and it has definitely made me a much better player. I've learned some tendencies that I knew I had, but I hadn't played with them in a long time, and it was a wake-up call on a big stage, and I really think it helped. I don't get nervous much anymore.
That's really cool. So I didn't tell you this, but I told Charlie I would tell you. You said hello. I interviewed Charlie last week. And he mentioned that I asked him how did he control his emotions, because he was pretty even keel the whole time, and he had that $1,000 in his bag for that super immunity, which
10,000, I think it was.
Oh, I'm sorry, 10,000. You're right, it was 10,000. And he said he doesn't know. He was so focused on. I mean, his demeanor is who he is anyway, just like you, right? It's who we are, but. He didn't have time to really get into any drama or get into any kind of, he said his quote was, I didn't have time to be nervous because I was thinking about that shot at that time, because like you just said, Toph, this could be it, right? I put this thing in the water or I plug it in the bunker, I'm done, right? So, and that kind of pressure is unbelievable. So let's talk about Anthony a little bit. You go into one of the events and we'll talk about your whole competition, but lots of questions about Anthony, and nobody really you were taking jabs at him just to kind of like to let him know that it's unacceptable. I think at one point you're like, hey man, that's just not cool, I think is what you said to him. And it was right after you knocked him out in that event. He put something at 12 feet, you were at 8 feet, and he's like, I think and you go like, yeah, it's done. You're done, something like that. And then walk by him, and then he exploded. Tell the listeners what happened there, if you remember that.
If I remember right, that was the ladder drill. So you started at 50 yards. Well, there were lines. 150 yards was the deep line, 50 yards was the first one. So you had to hit balls in progression. They had to get longer than the last one every time. We ended up going into a tie. I don't remember what the amount of shots that we hit were. It was quite a bit. I don't remember. Anyway,
It was like 8 or 9. I mean,
yeah,
it
I
was a
think it
lot.
was 9. I think I missed my 10th. I think I hit it long, but
Because you had 1 yard or half a
I think I
yard.
had, half a yard. I had hit it 149 and a half or something. I'm like, okay, cool. Into a fairway. I'm like, how's that going to bounce? I don't know. Anyway, we get into this playoff, and it's closest to the first white line, so it's a 50-yarder. I believe he went first, and like you said, he hit a good shot to like 12 feet, and I think I put it in there right around 6. As soon as I hit it, I knew it was good because he said it. It was great. He was like, oh, I think you beat me. I was like, yeah, for sure, closer, bro. Go home. Yeah. He and I did not get along early, man. He was just mean to everybody. I don't know, just not personable.
When he said to, was it Carolyn? He said something like, at least I wasn't bawling. The camera goes right on you, and you're like, not cool, man. I mean, you've kind of had enough of him. And Dave, I think, had it. It was just hey, man, what's going on? And then on the benches where you guys would sit on the flop shot, he was, it's over. Like you're not even guessing anymore. It doesn't matter where you sit, and he's the only one on the other bench. That really ticked off a bunch of the women. They were not happy with that.
No, he was a little rough on the girls. Like you said, he was making fun of them girls are emotional, man. And in that atmosphere, you can be more emotional than normal. If you want to put on a face or whatever and be tough, which he did. I know some girls struggled with it. And Carolyn was really upset, and he just hammered her for that. So I let him know that I was not okay with that.
Would you dismiss one of the quick hitter questions? I never even considered this. Was Anthony prompted to jump back to the quick hitter section by anybody, producers or whatever, saying, "Hey, you want to be the polarizing figure on this show?" I didn't get a sense. That seemed like who this guy was. And if you look at his background a little bit, you can understand a little bit of where he's come from. That emotion was inside him, and he was a young kid too, by the way. There's definitely a maturity situation, but you would dismiss. He wasn't prompted in any way to be that, right?
I do not believe so. I think they can cut and manipulate stuff to add drama, which Big Break is great at. If you hit a shot that was phenomenal, I mean, there are a lot of competitions where you did get 2 shots and it was your best shot. They don't show you that a lot of the time, but to add drama, they might not show the one that you hit to an inch. They're going to show you the one that hit 11 feet and won by an inch, right? Because it's more dramatic. So they do play up that, but I do not think that anybody on the show set out specifically to tell him that he was supposed to be that way. Again, I think he was just young because he plays on the tour that I run now, and he couldn't be a nicer guy. Extremely grateful to be out and playing. He's teaching young kids now in school. He just got his teacher's deal through GCU. So he's doing great, and he is much, much easier to handle than he was back 5 years ago.
That's good to hear. I'm just handed a note saying that I am interviewing Anthony on the 17th, which is next Wednesday. So that's awesome. I look forward to talking with him. So let's go through. Folks, we're talking to Toph Peterson, who was the runner-up at Big Break Myrtle Beach, which was on the air in October of 2014. We're pulling from all of his memories and reminiscing with him. Let's start with, I think you guys actually started with the glass break, if I'm not mistaken. Tell us about that, because everybody that's never done it, that sees Big Break and are fans, they want to do it desperately and say, I got a pretty good punch shot. I can do this kind of thing, not under the pressure. But give us your experience with the glass break challenge.
It's extremely fun. They always add a twist to it. So ours was actually more of a race. It was the first 2 people. So you went in sets of 3. Each person had their own glass to break. And last person to break the glass was into elimination or on to the next challenge. The other 2 were safe. So you're trying to do it fast, and you're trying to flight like a 6-iron, probably 30 yards into a 1x2 square. Maybe it's 2x2.5. It's not that big. but it was a riot. It was so fun ripping at that thing. It's the most satisfying sound, I think, ever when you actually do break the glass. It took me 3 tries, I think. Oh, it's awesome. Really relieving.
That's awesome. It did take you 3 tries, by the way. The flop shot. So then I know we're moving around a little bit, but you get to the flop shot. Your first impressions. I hear that the optics of not being able to see the flag or the hole is more, and I'm just asking this as a question, but a few folks have said that it wasn't necessarily the height or even the closeness to the wall, because you just got to flatten the wedge out or whatever, where it is in your your stance. But the daunting thing is I couldn't see anything. I know Mark Silver said that. I know that Mark Murphy said that. Coop said that as well. Give us your thoughts about the flop wall challenge.
I would be in total agreement with those guys. As a golfer, feel is like the most important thing you can have around a green, and you got to be able to see it to be able to create that feel. So you're looking at it when you walk around, but then you just literally have a wall. So you're trying to figure it out based on what you previously saw. That's where I struggled. Getting over the wall was not a big deal. And truthfully, it wasn't really that close. You had to hit it pretty high. Yeah. But, I mean, it wasn't like a proper flop. Visually was the hardest part, just trying to find the distance that you need to get it over. Because if you flew it over by 3 yards, it was short. If you flew it over by like 5, it was long. So there was a fine line that you're trying to get. Without visually seeing it was the hardest thing.
Right. And you end up in a playoff with Charlie. And that had to do with the points you guys got from guessing who was going to do it and who not. And then all of that stuff, you end up in a playoff. And he stiffs one on you, didn't he? I mean, he just put one to like 4 inches or something.
He did. He almost made it. I think it was our third try at the shot. Maybe it was our second. I don't remember. But, yeah, he absolutely flagged that. It was perfect. As soon as he hit it, I was like, oh, boy, I got to make it. Otherwise, I'm done. I gave it a go, but I don't think I hit anything miraculous.
You end up after the next challenge going to the elimination challenge for the first time. Is that the only time you went to elimination challenge?
That was my only time going into elimination. That's me and Katie.
Katie D.
Yeah, Katie D. That's right. Yeah.
So you walk over to her and she says, again, I know they cut this thing up and edit it, but you're walking towards her and she's saying to the camera, I played a practice round with him and I don't know, I buried a few birdies. So I don't think, and you're literally walking around. I know it's a double shot, but she's not saying it live. But she's in one of the rooms saying, I didn't think he was going to take me. And they have the camera showing you walk over and saying, look, these are my boys. I'm not taking them. Yeah. She played unbelievably and gave you everything you tell us about that.
I'll tell you what, truthfully, I didn't want to play her right out of the gate. She did play with practice round with Jimmy and I, and I think it was her and Carolyn just absolutely stomped us. I played pretty average, just didn't make anything, and Katie probably had 6 or 7 birdies. She played great. But it was too early. I told Jimmy I wouldn't pick him unless I absolutely had to, and I don't remember who else was in there, Dave. So I figured what the hell, I'd go for it, and I took her on. But we actually had a fun battle. It was we played 1 hole to start. I think we actually started with a chip and then a putt. And then we went to like 50 yards and then a putt. And both of the first ones, I didn't hit great shots. I had to make like a 9-footer, and then I had to make like a 7-footer. She's just kicking in like 3-footers left and right. I'm like, holy hell, I got to clean it up. Proceed to hit a really bad drive over the right side of the fairway bunker, find it, punch out short, hit it to about 5 feet, and had to make that to actually end up winning. But she missed about a 3.5-footer, which luckily for me moved me on.
Yeah, that was really something to watch, I have to tell you. And then we went to a situation. I want to talk about Christian for a second. And I, listen, with all the pressure, I could not handle that. I know that. So I'm not implying anything, but I try to take humor out of everything. And when you went to that event or that challenge where you got to hit it to the back of the green. And I think Jimmy hits it to I think he hit the fringe and it bounced off 2 inches. So he's way down there. And then Christian's like, when Christian hit his shot, Toph, I literally peed my pants. I mean, it was so funny. It's like, it reminded me of like, I had my son at the time was probably 3 or 4 years old, and you throw a football with him and he walks up 3 feet from you and throws it as hard as he can. That's what the ball looked like going across the green. I mean, that ball is still rolling right now. He hit it so hard.
Yeah.
And the face on you and Jimmy behind him, you are so disgusted. You were disgusted later on when they showed you on the bench. You just were so that, oh my God. Tell us all your emotions there.
I was so mad. I can't even explain the reason I was mad. I was not mad at Christian. We're golfers. We all hit shitty shots. The only reason I was mad is because I didn't have control over the situation that I was in. And it really pissed me off. I know Christian thinks that I was probably really mad at him. I totally get it. I've hit too many shitty shots in a team competition to get mad at him for something like that. But it was an extremely easy chip at the time because it was the second one. He had the entire green. He just had to be short of the ball. I was like, dude, you can chip it 2 feet, man. We're good.
Yeah.
But, yeah, we got it. I probably should have handled that a little better, but I was pretty rattled at the time.
So I don't remember, you guys were at the breakfast table, and whether you picked colored balls or it was numbers, but you ended up getting Jimmy, which you were thrilled about, I'm sure. Then you said, or I don't know if you got it. No, I think you were forced to that threesome, but you said that would have not been my choice. One of the quick hitter questions, and this is the depth of these fans watching the show. They asked if you said that after you saw what he did. Was it a taping? And I don't know if you remember that, but it might be.
I do remember that. That was actually after. That would have been at the end of the day. They asked me about it. And the only reason they said that at the time is I had seen Christian chipping, and I had known that he had some struggles. I think it was different grass for him. I think he was overspinning a lot of them, so I knew he wasn't really trusting what he was doing. And that's all about bump and run and distance control.
Yeah.
I would have taken Tessa Teachman in like 2 seconds. That girl's short game's so sick.
Yeah.
But Christian's a great player. That's one of the best ball strikers I think I've ever seen. That just absolutely pierce it.
2 quick things. One is, didn't he hole a flop shot? Or no, was that?
Yeah, it wasn't a flop shot, but it was like a 30-yard pitch.
Oh, that's right. That's what it, yep. And he held it.
Because I hit it to like 6 inches, and then he hooped it to steal my money.
That's right. That is right. And what was he wearing? He was wearing sleeves of some sort. I thought he was wearing a shirt underneath, and I'm thinking, but he's wearing sleeves, right? Like
he always wore sun sleeves, and then he always wore his patented number 7.
Number 7, yeah.
Yeah.
Cool.
He loved his sleeves. I know a lot of guys wear them out here in the desert. I can't get used to them. They drive me nuts. But.
Yeah, same. I couldn't do it either. So let's stay on Christian for a second, because he did make it up to you. You hit I don't even know. I think it was still the Immunity Challenge. $2,500 on the line from Dick's Sporting Goods. Yeah, that's right. And you hit a great shot off the tee, and he ran it down and 2-putted. I have to tell you, I had no faith in him burying the 5-footer or whatever it was, but he did, and he did it quickly. And you walked away with $2,500 from Dick's Sporting Goods. Pretty cool.
Yeah, that was a great redemption. And if you remember, I think I picked him up. I was so happy because he redeemed himself in my mind. I was not mad at him. I didn't want anyone to play bad on the show. As a golfer, I want to beat people at their best. You don't want anybody to hand you anything. Right. So I was happy to see him recover in the way that he did, especially as my teammate, because it won me some money.
So let's get, just before we get to Jimmy and yourself, Charlie mentioned on the show, was the Final Four Charlie, Tessa, and you and Jimmy? No, it was me, Jiminy Cricket. It was me, Jimmy, Anthony, and Emily Tubert. Oh, Emily, that's right. I'm sorry, I knew it was Anthony. Charlie said that I asked him, because I felt that Charlie was in the group with you guys. I thought his play early on, he was the front runner. You know what I mean? It was
absolutely.
He was playing so well. And he said, as the show went along, he said, he thinks that you two guys should have been in the finals. He says that right in the interview we had. He said, because he just, for whatever reason, and I asked him, one of the quick hitter questions said, did you lose your confidence in anywhere? And he said, no. But one of the things that happened to him was, and you don't see this on TV, when he was playing Jimmy, and Jimmy knocked him out, and by the way, kept him from that 10K.
Right.
He said they went to either a playoff or their third hole, and they did it like 4 or 5 times. And
They did, absolutely. It was
people
a
are
long
saying,
playoff.
how did you 3-putt on that green from 18 feet? And he's
Yeah.
like, I was wiped out. I mean, I just didn't have the feel anymore. And he's like, but that's part of it. You gotta survive and advance. And he was unable to do it. But that was a pretty good group at the end with Emily and Anthony and you and Jimmy. And tell us a little bit about that, and then we'll jump into the final match.
I almost don't even remember what we did for the Final Four.
I don't either.
I know.
I watched it.
I know we ended up getting into a match between Emily and I and Jimmy and Anthony, but I don't remember what we did. I don't know if we had like a knockdown shot. I don't remember how we got there, to be honest.
So
I just remember I got the short end of the stick and I had to play Emily.
Yeah.
Emily flies at like 285 yards and she's playing like, I think probably closer to 70% of the golf course yardage that we are. So I'm like, holy crap, man. She outdrives me and she's getting 4 tees. Brutal.
Oh, man. Yeah, that's true.
I knew I was going to have to play well. I got lucky. I made a bomb on the first hole, hit a terrible tee shot, hit a great 5-iron over the pin, made like a 35-footer down the hill to go up 2, which was massive. And then I lipped out on the next hole. And then I hit the probably the dumbest shot of the entire show, if not maybe the entire series as a whole, going for the green with a 2-shot lead. But I had to put myself under pressure. I had to try to realize what I was going to do the next day.
Yep. So then you get to the finals against your brother there, Jimmy, and tell us a little bit about that match, because I don't think to say you guys were not playing your best golf was kind of an understatement. Jimmy's putter, some of the putts that he missed, I mean, it's just, you just go, what in the heck? And you would get, like I was watching it last night just to refresh in preparation for this. And I went and grabbed a bottle of water and I came back and there you are sitting in like 4-foot, like fescue. And I'm like, where? I got to rewind that. Where was I? Just turned around the refrigerator, grabbed the thing, and like, where is Toph now? So tell us a little bit about that match from your point of view. Let's start in the front nine. I know you probably don't remember, but give us some of the highlights.
I could tell you every hole, every shot I hit that last round, unfortunately.
Well, let's look at the front nine then. Talk about the front nine.
So I started out fine, hit a really nice 3-wood, hit a nice wedge, and then lipped out my birdie, went one up. Jimmy hit it in the bunker.
Yep.
So I hadn't felt much for pressure yet. Kind of cruising along, sneak into a bunker on 2, get up and down, easy par. But truthfully, I'm scrambling my butt off. Like, ball striking does not feel super solid. Get up and down on the 3rd hole, probably make like another 5-footer. Jimmy didn't give me crap. I probably had to putt every putt outside of 1.5 feet.
Yeah, that was
thank God, because he would have buried me had he made the same putts. We didn't get to see the golf course actually before we played it. I hit so many balls left and through the fairway. It was ridiculous. I was not comfortable with almost any line. It was terrifying, truthfully, because I wasn't that confident with my driver, and then not knowing exactly where I could hit it. I went about it probably the wrong way. But yeah, it was frustrating. I know neither one of us wanted to play poorly against each other. I almost think that our relationship might have been the downfall of the match. We had both liked each other enough, and we were both totally okay with the other guy winning because we know the story. We know it will help him. At the same time, you want to beat his ass because you want to beat the guy winning. It was just a really weird dimension. And I don't know, I kind of woke up and I was just kind of feeling in a funk. I just never really got out of it. Jimmy said kind of the same thing. He just woke up and it just felt like he wasn't quite ready to go. I don't know how else to explain it, but that was the least nervous, excited, prepared I'd been for on the show. It was like, holy shit, all of a sudden it's here. What do I do? And I just could not stop holding on for dear life. I wanted it so bad.
You were scrambling though. I mean, here's the interesting thing. And I hearken back to the contest between James and Mark Silvers. James Lepp, I'm talking about, came out and firing at the stick. I mean, inside of 5 feet for the first 4 holes.
Oh yeah.
And Mark Silvers says on the thing, he's unbelievable. There's no way I can beat him if he plays like this, but I'm 5 holes in and I'm only 1 down. And he's playing as best he can. And then similarly, you're going through 5 holes and you're all square. I mean, you went first 5 holes and you're all over the place. You said you got your driver, got the lefties and the driver. So you're still in this thing and you stay all square for a while.
Yep.
And then I remember both birdied 7, both big birdies on that par 5.
Yep. Right.
All square through 8. And then I think he starts
9 is another par 5. We both found a fairway bunker off the tee.
Oh, that's right. You're all square through 9 too then too.
Yeah. So, Well, 9 is actually the one, I think I lost hole 9.
Oh, did you? Okay.
Yeah, I think 9's the par 5 that I ended up going 1 down.
Got it.
I think. I don't really remember, but I tried to hit a 6-iron out of kind of a funky lie, and I topped it in the water. I shouldn't have even gone for it. Jimmy laid up, and his layup was kind of suspect. I should have laid up to the side. And my wedges speak for themselves. I give myself pretty good opportunities with my wedges the entire time. I played the wrong shot there, and I went 1 down. Then I got really frustrated, and I believe I 3-putt the next par 3 to go 2 down.
Right.
And I think I got it back to 1. I don't remember it.
Yeah, no, that's Jimmy was playing pretty good tee to green.
He was really, really solid. His putter killed him. His speed control was not there.
He hit one lie so far that he looked like he was a 12 handicap.
Well, he left, if you remember, he could have taken me 1 up. I think it was hole 8. He should have taken me. I should have gone 1 down. He left about a 2.5-footer, 3-footer down the hill short.
Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah.
And then
that's when we actually had a pep talk to each other on the next tee. We both looked at each other and we're like, we got to clean it the fuck up because this is not how we want to play. Neither one of us represented our games very well that day, which was unfortunate. But
so late in the match, I think it's 16, you gain 1 back, and now all of a sudden 2 down. But you got to win everything, and then it closes out on 17.
Right.
Any feelings about how that ended? Any emotions at the end? I know you're happy for Jimmy, but man, you get all the way there. I'd rather be. I probably not. I want to go there too. Tell me about your emotions at the end of this thing.
Truthfully, man, I was so worn out with the entire week and so frustrated with how I played. Nothing really kicked in until about 2 days after. It was like I was almost in shock. I was just not prepared to let myself believe that I played the way that I did, I think. I learned a lot from that experience. Again, it was the first time I'd ever played for any significant amount of money, which definitely scared the crap out of me, got to my head, and unfortunately ended up losing. But it couldn't have been to a better guy. Truthfully, I probably should have ended up losing on 16. He actually 3-putt to give me the hole to go. Yeah. So I was all but prepared to shake his hand and move on.
You had your hat off.
Frustrating. I don't know.
You had your hat off.
I did, yeah. I felt defeated when we showed up on that tee. I was like, man, I hadn't hit but 2 decent golf shots today. And he's been flagging them. He just hasn't been putting well. So I assumed I needed to do something amazing. And I just didn't get much out of the round all day. Just didn't ball strike it well.
So a couple other, I always